I think the valuable lesson that I learned from this episode was don't fuck with Killua or his friends, period. And Hunter x Hunter episode 33 and Empty Threat.
And the stuff with the Nen just keeps getting better, man. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and intricately detailed, cleverly woven tale of Hunter x Hunter. The last episode, of course, and the last couple had focused primarily on Hisoka and his fight against Castro, and it was depicted very well, and was a little bit of a departure, though, from what we're used to, which, of course, was seeing Gon and Killua and some of our main characters, but very, very cool stuff. And it wound up ending off on Gon and Killua saying, hey, listen, we need to train and learn more about this Nen. So that's where things left off, and that's where things pick up in this episode. And in the first portion of this, primarily, the first good, 7-8 minutes of the episode, is devoted to them learning through their master, through their temporary master, albeit, Wing. He's teaching, of course, Gon, Killua, and Zushi some of the different things and some of the different intricacies of Nen. We find out that Nen is not just, there's those four main tenets, right, of it, but that's not it. That's not all that there is to it. Really, at the end of the day, what it is that it seems like there's multiple, maybe thousands, hundreds of thousands of different types of applications that it can be used for, and a lot of it depends on the strengths and weaknesses of the user. So, so it's one of those things where you have to, through training, figure out where your strengths lie, and then you can develop some different type of tricks, so to speak, or some different sort of signature moves that you can utilize Nen for. At least that's what I took from it. So they go and they replay and watch. First of all, Gon is, he's praised by Wing for not breaking his promise and keeping his little promise string on his finger, his little pinky, for 2 months and not actually fighting. And Killua was like, how do you know he didn't do anything? How do you know he didn't practice it or this or that, And he goes, because the string would have broke. And what he winds up doing is he tells, Killua or Gon to use his 10, and so Gon does. And then he says, look down at your finger, and the string broke. It basically, when that aura comes out of your body, it would, something like that, I guess it would break, or maybe that's a certain type, I don't know. It's kind of a trivial plot point, but it was pretty neat to see. Nonetheless, though, we get, like I said, a nice explanation, and they watch the recap video on the fight that Hisoka was in. And, of course, Killua still doesn't know. Gon hasn't seen the fight yet. Killua still doesn't know and can't figure out what Hisoka was using, what type of trickery, magic, Nen, whatever. So, so he goes and he says, Wing stops the video as Killua throws the cards up in that fight and says, now, can you see his aura, come in? And they're like, no, they can't see it. Zushi's the only one that can see it, and that's through extreme concentration. He's extremely fatigued afterwards, but he can see some of the tendrils of aura that are coming out, and he guesses that there's 12 or 13. Wing says that's close, but really, at the end of the day, they all need to practice better so they can learn how to use their in, which is to be able to, through Gido, they're able to go and concentrate and be able to use this in so they can go and see things like this aura that are cleverly disguised. You can also go and use the Zetsu, similar to what Gon did when he was fighting Gido, but that leaves you completely defenseless, and obviously then you can't go on the offensive. So, like I said, just the detail and the way it's described is second to none, and I'm just absolutely loving it. So what we wind up having happen is the Gon, Killua, and Zushi. They're going to go back to Gon's room and back on the 200th floor of Heaven's Arena and prepare, and train. They're going to train. Is what they're going to do. And the last day for each one of them to go and register to fight is the June 9th and June 10th. So that's what Killua and Gon are told by Wing to register for those dates. On their way up to their room, though, they wind up coming across that motley trio of idiots. And I can only call them idiot, reject, degenerate losers because this Gido, they all look like morons to begin with. The guy in with the big tractor wheels wheelchair, and then you've got this other guy that just sort of looks like, I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe him, but, more like a dick with eyes. And anyway, these characters, and I believe his name, I forget his name, it's Sazaso, so unforgettable. And then, of course, there's Gido and there's the other one. Anyway, the three of them, they basically just go and try to prey upon rookies, and they tell them that they need this Zabuso, or I think his name was Sabaso, something like that. That he has until May 29th, and Killua was like, well, we give a shit when your fight date is, has to be by. And what is that they're going to force them to fight. So later on, as Zushi's on his way home, he gets lured in down in this alley, and then they use one of them uses their nen or some kind of power on to basically make him fall asleep. He winds up passing out and falling asleep forward in a very weird, uncomfortable for me, looking like pedophile, sexual-like position where he's laying in the weird guy with the tractor wheels wheelchair, the big wheels wheelchair, laying in his lap, and he's passed out. So they take his shoe off, this one guy does, and gives it to Gido. He says, you know what to do, right? And Gido goes and hobbles off on his little one-legged thing that he does, a little frickin' pogo stick. And the reason that I kind of hating on these characters so much is because they really do. They just seem like the lowest of low lives that there is. You know, they just seem like scum and pieces of garbage. So what winds up happening is Killua comes upon them and he's like, all right, listen, this shit ain't going to happen. It ain't going to go down. You want to fight? That's fine. I'll even give each one of you a win. You register, we'll go register this and that. So that Sabaso or whatever takes Killua to go and register him. Registers for May 29th for a fight because that's his day for it. And Killua's just going to give him the win, right? And Killua goes, and as he walks away with Zushi over his shoulder and unconscious, right, still missing his shoe because Gido has it, he tells me, he says, you better keep your word, or, you know, or else, and he goes to tell, and they say, well, or else what? And he says, no, don't worry about it, just keep your word. And he walks away. And now, if anybody knows Killua, you don't fuck with that little boy, right? That little spiky-haired boy. Well, they decided to anyway, and Gido goes and follows through with his blackmail plan and drops the shoe off in front of Gon's door and then calls him on the phone. And, you know, and says, oh, if you tell anybody this is, we're going to hurt your friend, you're going to register for a match against blah, blah, and you're going to throw the match on May 30th, right? So, and you can't tell anyone. So Gon, of course, was blackmailed into doing this. Now, when Killua finds out the next day, it's just great, because he winds up finding out as people are taking bets on the matches and when they're going to happen and everything, and he finds out that he got double-crossed and that this guy's trying to rack up some cheap, easy wins by using this blackmail, you know? And anyway, the bottom line is he wound up, you know, carrying Zushi back home last night, and Zushi winds up, he's okay and everything else, you know. And we get, it's neat because then they're back, they're training again, they're meeting at Wing's place, and Killua figures out how to use this Gaio, how to be able to actually see the aura, and he goes and watches the video again with Ahsoka, and he says there's 15 strings, 13, one to each card, and then there's the one that's going from his limb to there and his scarf to the limb or whatever. And he kind of figures out that Hisoka's power and his aura is based on like elasticity or rubber being able to contract and expand as needed. And it's very cool how he's able to pick up on that. I mean, and even Zushi's like, you can tell he's like jealous a couple times during the course of the episode. He's just like, God, they're past me in, you know, a half a day over here. But the thing is that it's the sleeping giant, man. It's that Killua is that beast, man. And when that beast is unleashed, these two, and Gon, I mean, for that matter, they both are learning at just an extremely rapid rate. And it's just insane, right? How it's all handled and how it's done. I love it. I mean, absolutely love it, you know? So anyway, Gon still can't see. He still hasn't quite mastered this, you know, and being able to actually, you know, use the Gaio and the Een and everything else to actually be able to see the aura. But what winds up happening is it's great because you see this Sabaso or whatever his name was, and he's got these weird, the way his eyes are, instead of being normal like people's are straight across or like this, his are like this at an angle, so he sort of looks like a punch-drunk boxer, almost like Rocky Balboa on the one side of his face, like his face is just kind of frozen, and he just sort of looks like droopy-eyed. Anyway, this dude's sitting there, he's like talking to himself in his room, looking in the mirror, and he's like, oh, this will be great. I've got 5 wins now. Killua will be 6 on May 29th, and Gon will be 7 on May 30th, you know? And then all of a sudden he looks up, man, and whoosh, Killua's behind him with a knife at the back of his head, right at the crown of his head, right? And he's like, you move and I'll kill you. You make a sound and I'll kill you. You do this and I will kill you. You know, blink your eyes slowly if you understand. And this dude's sweating bullets, man. He's just like, he's like crying and sweating. And he's just like, you went and double-crossed me and I told you not to do that. I don't ever want to see your face again, and if I do, you will be, you know, more or less like a threat. It'll be worse than death, that sort of thing. And it's just awesome how so. So, anyways, you know, open your eyes slowly if you understand, you know. So, Killua, you don't fuck with that boy, man. A little spiky-haired fella, man. I tell you, with his piercing blue eyes, man. So then they go and they show the episode ends with Killua standing in the ring waiting for this Sabasa or whatever, and then them announcing that Killua got his first win by default because he didn't show. He didn't show. He was so fucking scared. And that was his last day to fight, too. So not showing up and forfeiting, obviously he'd have to start over from the beginning, but he was that scared because of, Killua threatening him like that. So I don't know what's going to happen with the other two, the wheelchair boy and Gido. But as I said, they all kind of just look like, you know what I mean? They're just sort of... I don't know. I mean, you look at them and you go, really? Really? You were the fastest swimmer out of all the sperm, and you think... I don't know. I think the characters are being portrayed and were designed like that, so you could look at them as just hated, kind of throwaway characters that are underhanded. But I still think that everything that I'm seeing so far with the animation, and especially as we get deeper into the explanation of Nen, just how wonderfully woven together it all is with this plot and this story, and just, oh man, so it kind of ends with like, all right, now Gon and Killua, are finally are awakening their powers and they're learning faster than normal, but their battle in Heaven's Arena has now finally begun. It's like they've been here for half a dozen episodes, but really it has just begun because they finally started to awaken to some of the intricacies and some of the nuances and principles, of course, of this Nen. So very cool stuff, man. My episode question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts on this terrible trio of goofballs, Gido and Tsubasa, and I don't even know what the hell the other guy's name is. We'll call him Wheelchair Boy or Big Wheel. What are your thoughts on the three of those characters? Do you think that they're playing their part well as villains? I certainly don't like them. Or do you think they're just kind of stupid throwaway fodder? Just let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on who they are, and of course what they did as far as trying to kidnap Zushi to then go and get the upper hand and get Killua and Gon to not only fight them but to throw a match. So let me know what your answer to that question is in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Remember to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and my other channel.